Here is your daily dose of the Ultimate Sales Machine coming to you from the new edition. Visit ultimatesalesmachine.com to get your copy or multiple copies. I am your host, Amanda Holmes, CEO of Chet Holmes International. What you're about to learn has assisted 250,000 businesses to generate billions of dollars, working faster, better, smarter.
I'm really excited to welcome our next guest to the stage. You may be familiar with her or you may not. You probably have heard of her father. He was the original creator of the D100. And I'm just gonna read off of some of the bullet points that I have about her, and then I have a quick little video to introduce her into the next hour with you. So she is the best-selling co-author of the Ultimate Sales Machine. And in fact, it just hit the bestseller list last week. 15 years ago, it was published. And with the hard work of Amanda and her team, she has made a few edits to it and republished it and hit bestseller last week. So that's pretty exciting. She is a CEO of Chet Holmes International. She's assisted 250,000 companies over the last 30 years. Chet Holmes International has. She inherited her father's multi-million-dollar business after his passing at the young age of 24. With zero succession plan, she stepped in as CEO and increased leads by over 1,000%. She doubled clients multiple years in a row. 10 years later, she's released the new edition of the book. Help me welcome Amanda Holmes to Seven Figure MSP Live.
I have to say that moment was real surreal for me to come up with that intro. I wrote that about a year ago and only just recently have started releasing it. So thank you for allowing me to do that. It means a lot. So today, I'm going to cover the 3 things holding you back from doubling your sales in the next 12 months. And if you actually play full out with me today, if you put down the cell phone, if you close your computer, if you might need to take notes, you will take notes. We can actually find actionable ways to double your sales today. I'll give you 3 different ways, but you have to play full out with me, because what you give is what you receive. Is that fair? Good. All right. I'm so glad you guys are here because I am technically very terrible. So I sit on the board of JMark. Anybody familiar with JMark? Tom Douglas? Okay, they're one of the largest MSPs in the nation, and I've been on their board for the last 2 years, and every time I come to them with another problem that I have, I sit on the board, but then I'm like, can you help me with my MacBook? So here's the current state of business. Last year, 80% of companies generated less money than they did the year prior. 80%. 60% of the companies that shut down during COVID never reopened. And every single day, 3,076 businesses are shutting their doors. So the fact that you are here means you are practically a miracle. Can we celebrate that for a moment? Yeah, good. And I can't wait to get my slides up here. I'm sure you guys are figuring that out. So the number one thing holding you back from doubling your sales this year is a little thing called the Great Resignation. How many of you have had staffing issues? Yeah. So I don't know if you know the total amount. Last year, 47 million Americans voluntarily left their jobs. 47 million. And that's up, if you see this graph, that yellow line up at top, just in November, it had been 2 million more than any other previous year. So why are they doing this? One of the biggest reasons is because they don't feel core values are similar with the company that they're working for. COVID shut down the world, and it seems that we've grown a conscience. We sat with ourselves for a couple of years and said, you know what, I want to do what I really love or what I'm passionate about, and I don't feel incongruency with my company. So one thing you can consider is talking more about your mission, your core values, what you're trying to do to assist whether it's your clients or it's your community. That's what people are craving right now. Studies actually show it. So the Great Resignation is number 1. So obviously it's hard to double sales if you don't have the right staff in place. The second biggest thing holding you back from doubling your sales is our biggest marketing problem. It's called the clutter factor. Now, my father used to talk about this so many years ago, and he would say, you're drowned out by 40,000 commercial messages a day. Today, so it used to take 7 different viewings of an ad before they start to take action. Today, that's 500 times. Your prospect has to see your company 500 times before it says, oh, I've recognized that, because we're drowned in so much. Every 60 seconds, one of those things happens on every different medium, whether it's text messaging or Facebook or Instagram. There are 3.8 billion social media pages today, and they're all putting out content, competing for the attention of your prospect. So it's no wonder it's such a hard time to actually get the attention of your prospect, right? They're not hearing you because you're drowned out in all of this content online. The third thing holding you back from doubling your sales, I promise I'll get to the better parts, I'm just telling you where the blockages are for now. The third thing is the death of the traditional commissioned breath salesperson. Okay? 97% of prospects feel that salespeople are too pushy, and you can thank Amazon for this. I was just at a keynote in Boston about a month ago. I spoke at HubSpot's Inbound, and I had this big slide that said, Death Star Amazon, because they're killing the traditional sales rep, and Amazon was in the audience. Which was funny, but they still wanted to work together, which was pretty awesome, even though I called them the Death Star. What has Amazon taught us, right? Amazon has taught us that we can go on a landing page, we can see customer reviews, and we can just press a button to purchase. So the way that our prospects are buying today is so drastically different than what it was just 10 years ago. We have to adapt to how they want to buy. You just think about how you buy, and then we need to adjust our sales process. So what we're going to cover today is how to get 9 times more from every move you're already making to generate new clients. We're going to cover, converting 7 times more. Actually, I'm going to give you a follow-up strategy that will help 100% of the time, because 80% of leads that are generated at events are never followed up on. How many of you have gotten a card at an event and you didn't really know what to do with it afterwards and it just went to the wayside? Only 3 people. Come on, guys. I just told you, 80% of leads are never followed up on. I'm going to give you a strategy that will work. It won't feel salesy, it will never feel pushy, and yet it's something you can use for years to come. And then I'll also teach you the fastest, least expensive way to double sales. How many of you are familiar with the D100? Yeah, all right, great. I'm glad. So I'm going to go in depth on that as well. My father was the originator of this method that I'm about to teach you. He got his big break working for a billionaire by the name of Charlie Munger. How many of you are familiar with Charlie Munger? Who is he? I keynoted for Berkshire Hathaway, and I was so excited. I'm like, my dad worked with Charlie Munger. How many of you know who Charlie Munger is? And literally, I'm in Berkshire Hathaway, and only 2 people raised their hands. Can you freaking believe that? I couldn't believe it. So he was able to double the sales of 9 different companies for Charlie, all within 12 to 15 months, and several of them doubled multiple years consecutively. That's when he realized he had a system for doubling sales. So he put it into the ultimate sales machine, which, as you saw from the video, it's done pretty well over the last 15 years. We've built out from there 70 different training products that sell in over 100 countries. It's been translated into 15 languages, not Spanish for some strange reason. My publisher. We've worked with over 80 of the Fortune 500 and over 250,000 businesses worldwide. So I tell you this to say, what you're about to learn works. It's not just some made-up thing. It's not just one person worked. It works across industries. It works across decades. It's worked in 15 different languages. So just to say it works. So who can guess what is the single most important thing you need to succeed in business? Sales. Passion. Discipline. We call it pig-headed discipline and determination. My father wasn't here for hashtags, so I hashtag it PhD. Pig-headed discipline and determination is the single most important thing you need to succeed in business. Next time I ask, I want to be able to hear everybody say it. So I want you to double your sales, but not at the expense of your time, your health, and your family. This next thing that I'm going to share is a little bit uncomfortable, but I've gotten a lot of feedback that it really helps people, so I'm going to share it. So my father was diagnosed with cancer before he passed, and he spent 382 nights in the hospital. And never once did he spend a night alone. It was between me, my mom, and my brother pulling all-nighters with him. And in all that time, he never sat me down and said, hey, Amanda, here are my companies. Here's what I want to see from my companies. Here's who runs my companies. So you can imagine my utter shock when I inherited the company and had no idea even what the companies were, let alone what to do with them. We were business partners with Tony Robbins, so that's at Business Mastery, and just some of my staff. And they gave me a title of chairwoman of the board. We don't know what to do with her. I didn't know what to do with me, so they just put a name on it, and I was utterly shocked. Just trying to get over the grief was really, really difficult. For any of you that have watched someone you love pass, the faces of like their mortality coming over them, and the experiences in the hospital gave me nightmares for years where anybody know where PCH is? The PCH highway in California? Yeah, some people. So I would get on PCH and I'd drive up the PCH and I'd pull over on the side of the road and I'd sleep because I knew I could get an hour and a half in before my legs started to tingle and I would lose feeling in my legs because of the way I was sitting in my car. So I'd get at least an hour and a half sleep in, which was long enough to where I could sleep, but then I wouldn't get the nightmares. It's just, the strange things we do to get out of pain. And we were virtual. We'd been virtual since 9/11. I would be on a call and they'd say, oh, Amanda, are you on this call? And I'd unmute and I'd say, hi. Be like, are you okay? Yeah. Okay. And then I'd go back on mute and I would just be bawling. I literally had no idea what to do. It was very shocking. And it didn't help that we were in a place of extreme disruption. So very similar to what we just went through during COVID. So before COVID, there was an average of 5 to 7 years to get your marketing and sales process online. Today, it's an average of a year and a half to get your marketing and sales process online because of the push that COVID did. But just because we've pushed there doesn't mean that we've optimized it or we understand it or we're doing it effectively where we're getting an ROI. So similar to me, at that time, we were running all of our lead generation via the radio. We had never sold anything online, and my industry had really pushed online. So we were behind the times, and yet my father was the innovator in the company, so nobody knew what to do. So I just started asking questions. Guess I have to figure this out. And I started hiring different C-suites to fill the void, CMO, CTO, CFO. I really had no clue. And to tell you the truth, I felt that if I stepped into the company, that I would just put myself in a grave next to my father. He died at 55, right? How much stress do I have to endure after watching my father do it? So it was very difficult for me to want to step in. But luckily, I had a guardian angel, if you will. I had a mentor. Her full title is Sarvaloka Ma, Her Holiness Shri 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 1008. It's quite long. I just call her Guruji. And she kept telling me that I could step in as CEO. I looked at her going, you've got to be kidding me. That's crazy. I was a singer before. I had just released my 4th record. And after all of her encouragement and helping me break through my own mental barriers, I did step in as CEO. But one thing that shifted everything was she had told me that I didn't have to do it the way that my father did it. I could do it a different way. I could do it without the pressure. And there was this one day where I started running webinars. Like, I would have 400 CEOs on a call. I was 26 years old, and I'd come on and I'd say, hey guys, I'm going to teach you how to double your sales. Which just felt, I look back and I go, that was crazy. I can't believe I did this. But I would get on and I did a webinar and I didn't really close much business. And I happened to see my guru that day, and I walk up to her and she could tell I was a little sad, and she said, what's wrong? And I said, oh, it's nothing. She said, no, it's okay, what's wrong? And I said, I didn't close much business. I just did a webinar. And she said, close? What do you mean close? I said, it's like winning a sale. You close like a vice. And I didn't really get much. And she looked at me and she said, why would you ever want to close? Closing puts pressure on you and the person that you're talking to. If you're talking to so many different people, you could take a seed and you could plant it in the ground and you could grow a tree. And that same tree could bear fruit. And that fruit, you could create an orchard. So why don't you plant seeds instead of closing them like a vice? And something in my head just shifted that day. And after that's when I increased our sales conversions 1,100% and doubled our clients multiple years in a row. Because I realized that I didn't have to put the pressure, that I could just be me and flow with being nurturing and loving. So that's part of what I put into the new edition of the Ultimate Sales Machine as well. I found a letter that my father wrote. He said that he had generated more wealth in the last 6 months than the prior 8 years combined. And I took that letter and I put it into the book. So that's a part of my legacy that I'm leaving. It was my father's final chapter, but for me, it's my first. So, like Amanda had said, I increased leads 1,176% and doubled our clients, and this year we're up 589% from last year, and the book hasn't even started shipping quite yet. So we're doing pretty well. So the point I'm trying to say here is if I can take over a company without ever, I never watched my father speak from stage, I had never read his book. I picked up the book, I just started reading it over and over again. I watched his videos over and over again. So I am a product of the product. If I can do it, I know that anybody here can do it. Is that fair? Does that feel like, yeah, I think that would give me a little gusto to do it? Okay, great. And part of my mission is I want to assist small to medium-sized businesses how to double their sales while cutting their stress in half. Because you shouldn't have to do double the amount of work. You can just work smarter. And we have those systems to be able to do that, where you're working smarter, not harder. And part of my gift I want to give back is creating a space, a little heaven on earth, because when I had to reimagine what my life would look like after my father passed, for a while, I talked to more plants than people. That was me at a healing center, my guru's healing center. It's actually only an hour and a half from here. And I healed from the inside out. And now I'm excited to share with more CEOs how to reset, because we all just need that reset right now. So that's part of my mission, and if you want to hear more about it, I'm happy to share it after the talk. So, how many companies do you think make it to $1 million in annual sales? 1%, 4%, 26%? That was very specific. Okay, so 95% of companies will never make it to $1 million in annual sales. Of that, 0.08% will make it to $5 million. Of that, 1.5% make it to $10 million, and 0.004% ever make it to $100 million and beyond. Now, what makes the difference between $1 million to 5, from 5 million to 10, from 10 million to 100 million and beyond? Majority of companies would say, it's my product. If I just get this tweaked better, we'll be able to grow much faster. Now, I'll give you the example. 2 companies are started on the same block in 1967. One's a mom and pop joint that makes these wonderful hamburgers, and they put all their love into this hamburger. Another one is McDonald's. Decades later, one is the largest grossing hamburger joint in the world, and another one is still a one-location mom and pop shop. Now, do you think that McDonald's has a superior burger? Absolutely not, right? It is not your product or service that will be the difference between you growing and not. How many of you would like to increase your sales by 300%? Yeah. The question is, can you work 3 times more hours to do it? Good news is, you're not going to have to, okay? Because like I said, everything I'm about to teach you is about working smarter, not harder. And we truly believe in systems that take horsepower, not wallet power. And I'm going to show you a couple of those today where you'll just be like, that was so easy, and it won't cost you a dime. Okay, so it is truly the skills it takes to grow the business. My father is famous for saying, and you can write this down or take a picture, mastery isn't about doing 4,000 different things. It's about doing 12 things 4,000. Doesn't that feel a little bit better to know, oh, I don't have to do the shiny object syndrome and find a million different things to do? We're just going to focus on a few key areas. I'm going to show you 3 of them today where you could do this for the next decade and get results. So, the first thing we're going to cover is the fastest, least expensive way to double sales. We're going to do Dream 100. Now, the definition, again, another great thing to write down or take a picture of, there is always a smaller number of better buyers than there are all buyers. That means that marketing and selling to them is cheaper than marketing and selling to all buyers. I will give you an example. So when my father was working for billionaire Charlie Munger, he was given a list of 2,200 prospects, and they said, okay, go cold call those 2,200. He looked at that and went, wow, that's a lot of people to cold call. So he did some research, and when he analyzed, he realized that only 167 of those 2,200 purchased 95% of the space. So instead of going after the 2,200, he led an intensive Dream 100. That's where the Dream 100 was born. And what he did at that time, so the mediums have changed, but he would send out a direct mail piece 1 week. The next week, he'd follow up with a phone call. The next week, he'd follow up with a fax. The next week, he'd follow up with another direct mail piece. So he was every single week reaching out to his Dream 100. Now, in the first 4 months, they got not one sale. Can you imagine coming in as the head of sales and them saying, so he hasn't sold anything yet. Who is this guy? They started to talk around the office. In the 6th month, he closed the largest contract that the industry had ever seen, Xerox. He brought Xerox into the fold. From there, because they won Xerox, they brought that to everyone else and said, look, Xerox bought, you should as well. And they doubled sales the 6th month, the 12th month, and then multiple years in a row in every division. Why? Because the Dream 100 never stops. It is a perpetual part of your process. We teach about doing 1 hour a week. Can you work 1 hour a week on how to get those bigger, better buyers? Now, another great example of this is, maybe some of you has met Troy. Troy, raise your hand, yeah. So Troy went through one of my boot camps back in January, and he closed $8.4 million in sales in 6 weeks. So typically in that industry or in that company, a sales rep would sell $8 million in a year. So he did the equivalent in just 6 weeks, and he did it with only 4 clients. 4. So the question is, who are those better buyers that can buy more from you more often? And I'm going to dive deeper into this in a minute of how he did that. So here are the 3 critical mistakes companies make when trying to deploy a Dream 100. The first one is, so many people have deployed these Dream 100s, and it's been passed down now from my father, but we forget that we have relationships. We have a cell phone full of contacts. We have a social media page with followers. You are sitting on a gold mine and you don't even know it. Dream 100s are already a part of your world. The majority of people think, okay, I need to build a list. So then they go out and find all these people that they don't know. You already have a Dream 100 sitting there waiting for you to help them, serve them in their business. So that would be first. What Troy did was, if I had a second mic, I would just say, you should say it. So what Troy did was he found 4 people that had already been hard-nosed. They had already said no to the service. They were definitely not interested. He went back to them with an education and brought them into buying. So do you have prospects that have said no in the past that you could reach out to again? Let's do an exercise. Pull out your phone and don't focus on the text messages. Don't check your email. I want you to just very focused, go through your phone right now and see, do I have a Dream 100 that I already know right now? And Dream 100 could be either a direct client. It could be somebody that speaks already to your dream prospects, right? It could be a press. It could be a head of an association that has all of your potential prospects. I just did a keynote yesterday for an agricultural manufacturing association. And that was a great Dream 100 for me because their whole room was full of clients that I would love to work with. So go through your phone right now, and if you can identify 1 at the very least, if not 5, that would be great. And I want you to write down their name so you have it very clear, okay? Anybody want to share what you discovered just doing that right now? Raise your hand and I'll call on you. Great. He just said focus on the task that he was doing. So I'll tell you right now that a study was done in California at a university that every time you get derailed on focus, it takes another 23 minutes to get into focus again. It's the equivalent as if you had slept for 4 hours and had a drink of beer. So every time you are distracted and you are pulled away to come back, you are actually operating at a lower brain capacity. So let's get hyper-focused, right? How do we turn off the notifications on our phone? How do we turn away our staff so that they're not calling us all the time? Okay, what are some other breakthroughs that you guys had from looking at your cell phone? Yeah?
So I didn't even make it through the A's in 90 seconds, and I found 2 millionaires that have multiple businesses each that I just need to sit down and have a discussion with.
That gave me chills. That's great. Okay, who else? Anybody else? Yep.
Wendy, can you share the phone numbers with everybody?
Oh, I love that. Anybody else? Okay, great. See, how easy was that? Didn't even cost you a dime. Second is when people think of Dream 100, they get so obsessed with the fact that they need 100 people. You actually don't need 100 people. Here's an example. This was one of our consultants at my company that used to work for us, Tom Schaff. He got a client that was a $60 million company, and they had 969 clients. They realized that 91% of their sales came from only 13 of those 969. So Tom came back and said, I think you should fire 950 of your clients. They looked at him and said, are you freaking kidding me? He said, no, I'm dead serious. It takes up way too much time. You're pretty much break even. It's really just those 13 that are generating you your sales. And I think you should only go after these 4 companies. They decided to only go after one. And that one generated them $100 million. Right? They doubled sales from one client. So my question to you is, how many do you really need in your Dream 100? It doesn't have to be 100. It could be 1. It could be 4. It could be 12. I'm calling it the target 12 because when I first inherited the company, the way that I increased leads by 1,176%, I found the 12 biggest people in my industry, and I put on a virtual event. And I had them all market my virtual event. We got 30,000 leads in 1 month, and it didn't cost me a dime. Target 12, I didn't need 100. Thank you. Yeah. I'll accept that. Okay, third is bigger isn't always better. So that Dream 100 could potentially be an association that speaks to all, right, like a chamber of commerce that speaks to all of the businesses in your local area. It could be even a Facebook group today, right? Our groups don't have to be in person, they can be online. This is one of our clients. They used the Dream 100 to generate another $800,000 to their event. And I love how she broke this down. You might want to write this down or take a picture. The checklist is you want to make sure that they make you profitable. Because I know with MSPs, you could get a really big client, and it could be a completely different suite of services that you have to provide for that bigger client. So it could be that you're looking for an MRR that's more around the $5,000 to $8,000 a month, right? Rather than the, I can find one and close one for $20,000 a month MRR, but then I don't have all of the services on the back end. So profitable is important. Ease of delivery is also important. So looking back at the clients that you've had, who are those that have worked the easiest? Who have you enjoyed the most? 3, easy to sell. My first big win as CEO, I brought in Panasonic as a client. And I realized, holy cow, working through procurement is next to impossible. That is so obnoxious. I don't really want to work with the Fortune 500 as much. I'd rather work with the smaller businesses where the CEO is still involved. So that was a big realization for me that I saw. 4 is results. So just because you can close and you win that deal doesn't mean that they're getting the best results. So you really have to analyze your clientele, who gets the best results from what you're providing, because then it's much easier to sell. And then 5, why don't we have some fun? So that's your checklist for your Dream 100. Now let's do the math, because it always helps to write down the numbers. What would a best buyer, a Dream 100 prospect, be worth to you compared to your average client? Write down, what would be the average, what would be that number, lifetime value? Who wrote down a number? Yeah, yo.
To be worth $700,000
700,000 versus 60,000. I love that. Who else? The gentleman that said the millionaires that have multiple businesses, did you put a number to that? Oh, I know you. Wait, what's your name again? Randy. Okay. Randy, come on. You know why I'm making you do the number is because 2 months in, when you still haven't heard back from them, you'll give up. That's what majority of companies do. They just give up. And if, okay, that client is a $700,000 deal for me, it's worth spending an hour a week to make sure that I go after them because they're the bigger fish, right? They're harder to get to at times. So depending on who they are, if you quantify what your result is, it'll help you motivate to do the work it takes to close them, to win their business, to plant a seed. So if you got one new best buyer a month, what would that do to your business? To the moon. I love that. A lot of the time, that can just double your sales. Maybe for you, maybe it's not one a month, maybe it's once a quarter, twice a year. So what did we cover? How to get 9 times more impact from every move you're already making to generate new clients with the buyer's pyramid. We also covered the fastest, least expensive way to double sales, the Dream 100. I'm done. I went over. I'm so sorry, guys, but you seemed like you were up for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We could have done this probably for the rest of the day. Don't you think? Give it up for Amanda Holmes again.
Thank you.
Make sure to get your copy or copies at theultimatesalesmachine.com. There's a lot of special bonuses that you can't get going to Amazon, so make sure you check it out at ultimatesalesmachine.com.